Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'll fill you in. Today's Sunday, so that means it's Scary Story Sunday, where I game while I indulge you guys in true inspirations behind the making of some of your favorite horror movies. Today's game is Halo, and today's story is all about the making of the Amityville horror movie. If you love horror and you love gaming, you've come to the right place. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of your Scary Story Sundays and the reaction videos that I create throughout the week about some of the most terrifying things that I can find on the internet. Let's get into it. The Amityville horror movie. If you guys are horror buffs, you've definitely seen this movie. If you haven't, I suggest you do. It's one of the scariest movies that I think I've ever seen, next to The Exorcist. It's a must-watch. And the fact that there is a possibility the stories are true makes it even that more chilling. There's definitely a lot of controversial discussion around whether or not the Amityville horror house is actually haunted. People are questioning whether the Lutz family was telling the truth or if it was just a marketing scheme to sell a book. And also if Ronald Defeo was actually possessed the night that he killed his family. So we're going to go into a backstory about Ronald Defeo, and then we'll touch a little bit on the Lutz family. 23-year-old Ronald, or they also called him Butch, Defeo Jr., was the oldest of the family. And he ended up actually confessing that he ended up killing his entire family, his mom, his dad, and all of his siblings. But some argue that the Defeo family was also a victim of the house. Some things that we do know about Ronald Defeo and his childhood was that monetarily he was very comfortable, but he was not happy. His father was very domineering and a very abusive man, and his mother seemed to fade into the background under his overbearing personality. So from that, Ronald grew increasingly troubled into his young adulthood. He began to rely on drugs and alcohol to cope, and he lashed out physically and even threatened his father with a gun. Ronald's parents hoped that weekly gifts would appease him and make him happy. But by the age of 18, Ronald technically held a job at the family-owned auto dealership, but rarely bothered to show up. So regardless of what they did to try and make him happy, he just was not a happy camper. It wasn't unusual that Ronald decided to leave work at noon out of boredom. He met with friends at a bar, constantly calling his house to no answer and complaining about it to anyone who would listen. He eventually left. The next time anyone saw Ronald, the entire town of Amityville would be changed forever. All 6 bodies were found in their beds, and they were all positioned on their stomachs. The victims appeared to be shot with a high-powered rifle at around 3:15 in the morning. Now, if you guys remember the movie, all the crazy things were happening to the Lutz family at 3:15 in the morning. Everything was 3:15, 3:15. If you guys remember the movie, it indicated at 3:15 in the morning that that's when all of the crazy, scary, paranormal things were happening in the house. So there were some things that didn't quite add up. There were no signs of any struggle present on the bodies or evidence that they were drugged. No neighbors who were awake reported hearing any gunshots, only the Defeo's family dog barking in the night. So no one actually saw or heard. There's no evidence whatsoever. And there's no eyewitness accounts. So upon a police investigation, Ronald Defeo's alibi of being at work and then the bar began to crumble. As police noted, the family had been dead before 6 a.m. and Defeo was frantically changing his story up. Several more times throughout the Amityville murders investigation, just continuously changed his story. At one point, he actually claimed that a mob hitman by the name Louis Fellini killed his family and made Ronald watch. But Fellini had a solid out-of-state alibi, and soon Ronald confessed to the police that it was assumed to be the truth and he had murdered his family all by himself. Ronald ended up standing trial on October 14, 1975. His attorney, William Weber, mounted an insanity plea stating that the defendant heard voices that told him to kill his family. So this is where they're saying that he was possessed, that it wasn't him, and he was told repeatedly over and over again to kill his family. And I guess that night is when things got really bad and the voices kind of took over. However, the prosecution argued that while the drug-abusing Ronald Defeo was indeed troubled, he knew what he was doing when he committed the Amityville murders. A jury convicted him on 6 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced him to 6 concurrent sentences of 25 years to life. So he is not ever leaving prison alive. He is in there for the rest of his life. In a later version of Ronnie's confession, he changed his story yet again and allegedly stated that his sister, Dawn, killed their father, and then their distraught mother killed all the siblings. And in this scenario, Defeo only killed his mother. In another telling by Defeo in 1990, he has Dawn, his sister, shooting all of the Defeos before he kills his sister. So he's already switched his story up so many times that his credibility is just falling down the drain. Okay, so now we're going to take a look into the Lutz family. So this is the family that ended up moving into the Amityville horror house after these murders that happened. So the day they moved in, the couple had a priest bless the house. But George Lutz claimed that the holy man felt an unseen hand slap him in the sewing room and heard a voice say, "Get out." Soon after, the couple said that they began noticing odd things around the house, such as doors being ripped from their hinges, cabinets slamming shut, and slime oozing from the ceilings. That would be a sight to see. That's too much for anybody. Apparently, there was an odor in the house that came and went. There were sounds. The front door would slam shut in the middle of the night. And apparently that the house could not get warm. It was always cold. He also claimed that he would mysteriously wake up at 3:15 in the morning nearly every day. Around the same time, the Defeo murders were believed to have happened. Again, like I was saying earlier, that the movie portrays all of these incidents happening at 3:15 in the morning. At times, his wife would physically transform, get this, into an old woman and then once levitated. And then one night, he heard his kids' beds slamming up and down on the floor, but claimed he couldn't do anything because an invisible force was paralyzing him. Again, like I was stating earlier, there's a lot of controversy around these claims because there is no evidentiary support, just what they claim. And a lot of people are stating that they were just making up this story to make a profit, make some money. The family ended up moving out 28 days later, leaving all of their possessions behind, like their clothes in their closets, food in the fridge, their furniture, you name it, they left it. They were out of there so fast that I'm sure they barely had time to grab their car keys. And 2 months later, a local TV crew did a segment on the house, bringing in so-called ghost hunters and paranormal experts to evaluate the couple's claims. Though the stories of the Amityville house being haunted are subject to debate, there is very little doubt that Ronald Defeo Jr. was present for the mass murder of his family in the home. But the question still lingers, is the Amityville house really haunted? It's also stated that Ronald Defeo Jr.'s attorney, William Weber, was more involved in the lore than you may expect. He claims that George and Kathy Lutz, the home's next occupants, for only 28 days, approached him about an idea for a book and said, "We created this horror story over many bottles of wine. It is a hoax." Whether you choose to believe the Amityville house is haunted or not, some interesting information is still out there. One of their sons, Daniel Lutz, claims that he was actually possessed by a spirit much like Reagan was in The Exorcist. Their other son, Christopher, said he had run-ins with the paranormal, including the time he saw a presence as definite as a shadow in the shape of a man that moved toward him and then dissipated. Interesting enough, both George and Kathy Lutz took a lie detector test about their story. And guess what, guys? They passed. So what does that say for what happened in the house? They claim it wasn't true, that it was a hoax, but then they took a lie detector test about their story and they passed it. No one's really going to know what happened for those 28 days while the Lutz family lived in that house and what really happened the night of the murder when Ronald Defeo murdered his family and the nights leading up to it. I don't know about you guys, but I find both of these situations way too coincidental to possibly not be true when Ronald Defeo and the Lutz family were both experiencing the same type of activity at the same time every night. I do believe in the paranormal. I do believe in horror stories such as this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And there you guys have it, another Scary Story Sunday. I don't know about you guys, but I believe that it's true. You can let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on your next scary story. Have a wonderful night, guys. Bye.